This video was made possible with the help of Game Toppers. Upgrade your gaming experience with a Game Topper.
Well, hello, chaps and chapettes, and welcome. I should start like this. Hello. But no. Welcome to this Before You Buy video. I'm going to be talking about Shadows of Brimstone, Swamps of Death, and also Shadows of Brimstone, City of the Ancients. These are both revised editions from the original Kickstarter, which came out in 2014, which means that these are 2020. I remember the numbers, which is unusual. But yeah, this is a Before You Buy video where I'm briefly going to go over the rules a bit and talk about the mechanics, and also point out some pros and cons, as well as throw in a bit of my own personal feelings about this game before leaving it over to you to decide whether this is a board game which is worthy of your shelf space. Talking of shelf space, there's a couple of the figurines which came from the game, and I put them on the shelf because I don't want to put them back in the boxes because I am afraid they will get damaged. But more about that in this. So let's point out some information about this game. So before I start going into the rules kind of lightly, just a quick notice that everything you see in this video is from the two based core games combined together. So you're not going to get this many gear cards in the one copy that if you buy one copy. This is everything smashed together. With that in regards, some of the stuff that you will get will be duplicated, so you will have exactly two identical loot decks and scavenge decks. Some of the reference cards you will have two of, which can come in handy if you're playing with multiple players, not very handy if you're playing solo. And I'm also going to point out that some of these token holders and stuff, they are what I built for this game because I felt it needed it. Due to the fact that although the game box does come with a nice insert, it's not practical for me personally. So what's this about? Well, basically this core version of the game is set in the Wild West, where players are going to be playing as cowboys or Indians or showgirls and whatever, and they're going to be exploring a mine where there are some special crystals which have been found, which have been coming from another dimension. So this is basically Cowboys meets Cthulhu in a dungeon crawling adventure. It's cooperative, so players are playing together against the board game system. Players at the beginning of the game will pick up the character that they want to play, take the figurine that they want to play, take the starting gear that comes with that character. So it may be a sheriff's badge, which gives them a special power, or it may be an extra resource. You're going to pick a scenario from one of the 12 which are in the book. There are 6 kind of easy, so they say, scenarios, and then some 6 which are a little bit harder. And you can either pick them at random or by rolling dice, which is random, or you just pick one out or go through them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you will place your characters on the starting tile, which is normally the mine entrance. You're also going to get the chance to pick an item or randomly draw an item which is unique to your character, which will add a bit of flavor and maybe some story if you're going to play a campaign. Every game will have you in the mine, or it might start you in the location of wherever you are or whatever expansion you've bought. Every round is going to start by holding back the darkness on this darkness track. And depending on your scenario will tell you how you'll win. One way to lose is if the darkness itself manages to work its way all the way here and escapes the mine, you lose. Ba, ba, ba. Think of it as like the Evil Dead, that monster, the camera which goes. Maybe I'll film that. But anywho, so you'll roll 2d6 and you'll look at the value. And if it's wherever you are, which is here, it's 3. So it's less than 7 or more, which means that the monster will start moving. Okay. The only exception to that rule is if you roll doubles. If you roll doubles, so for example, double 2, you will then check the reference chart. Here you will see there's one for the mine and then one for wherever you are and the other where this is the swamps one. Okay, double 2s would be Dark Dread, which means you draw a Growing Dread card, which is one of these. But anywho, I get beside myself. If it's higher, nothing happens. If the Evil Dead monster arrives on a space with a blood stain on it, you take one of these darkness cards and you reveal it and you play it immediately. These will add more Growing Dread cards, or they will put monsters on the board, or they will make monsters a bit tougher later on in the game. If this token ever arrives on a Growing Dread, you take a Growing Dread card, you put it on the side. This is a pile of cards which will be revealed when you arrive at your destination of your quest, and then you reveal them and they will do a lot of pain and suffering. Some scenarios may use these numbers on this board for certain things, and basically you're going to be moving this up one space every time you discover a new map piece, and this is what you're going to be doing at the beginning of every turn. Then it becomes the activation phase of all the characters and monsters on the board. If there are no monsters, it's just straight to the characters. Each character on their character sheet has an initiative value, and so you activate in order. So starting with the US Marshal. This is a roll and move game. So what will happen is you will roll a dice, and that's how many spaces you can move. You can move diagonal, and you cannot go through diagonals with the corner missing from the square, and then you can actually stop on squares which are half filled. If you ever roll a 1, you can collect a grit token. A grit token is like a joker you can spend to re-roll any of your dice rolls apart from those for the depth track. After the move phase, you can do one of 3 things. If there are monsters on the board, you can attack. We'll talk about that in a sec. The other things you can do is you can scavenge or search. To do so, you roll 3 D6. Oh, that's a pretty good roll. And for every 6 that you get to draw a scavenge card from this small scavenge deck. And once you've drawn, you take whatever it is. They give you some XP, and they may give you some horror or some damage. They're mainly kind of not that good, and they may occasionally give you some, loot of some sort. These cards go back in the deck and shuffled, ready for the next time you scavenge. And if you scavenge, you basically take a scavenge token and you add it to that tile, which means that it probably can't be scavenged again, depending on the number of players there are. So for 2 players, each tile can only be scavenged once. But instead of scavenging, if you ever end up on the end of a tile on a half space, you can look through the door, which is a kind of search. When you explore a new section, you will take a card from the map deck, depending on the location you are. If you're in the swamp, obviously you take a map deck card from the swamp. But we're in the mine, you reveal it, and this will tell you what tile you will need to add to the board. Like so. And this is the next area. If it's a room tile like this one is, this will get an exploration token placed on it, which activates at the end of the round. And you will also keep this handy, because if you wish to play it later on, when you do play this exploration token, you will need to know where the doors are going. And as you can see, the green arrow tells you what part it connects to. Simple. Once all characters have activated by moving and then doing a search or exploring, it comes to the end of the round. And then you reveal all exploration tokens. These exploration tokens come in various different types. You have these ones which will give you an encounter, which means that you draw an encounter card for the mine. There you go. And these are a bit of story and they give you like a luck test. Then you might, something bad happen to you, or something good might happen to you. You might get some XP, you might get some gold, you might get some loot or an artifact. Again, there are different decks for the different areas. Some of these tokens will prove an attack, which means that you will have to draw from whatever level you're on, so low level or on the mid level, a monster card, and this will tell you how many monsters spawn. If it's an attack, these monsters spawn in the farthest regions of the board. And when they spawn in a kind of checkerboard fashion, always like a space apart. That would be an attack. There are also some ambush attacks. An ambush basically means that the monsters don't spawn far away, they spawn right next to you. And normally they're kind of divided out between you. But when there's like a third, for example, you will have some tokens, or you can do a flip coin, depending on the number of players, which will allow you to decide which one this one's going to attack. These encounter tokens also have a number of doors. So in this case, I have one door, which means that I keep holding this card, I roll the dice, and then see what number it is. So in this case, it's a 5, which means that the door is here, which means that this end is blocked. I then close this end off, and we start the next round, starting with the death track. And some of these have these exclamation marks, which are normally an objective in the scenario in which you've collected X amount of objectives. That will trigger the end of the level and maybe a big boss fight, which you will draw from either the high deck or the epic deck. When there are monsters on the board, you can never scavenge. You have to either do combat or run away. So after you've checked for darkness, you will check the initiative order of the monsters and the heroes, and you will activate in the appropriate order. So in this case, these Hellbats would go first before our heroes. Each character sheet for the monsters tells you how many spaces they move, what their combat is. So in this case, I would roll 3 dice for an attack, and they would have to roll a 3 or higher to touch. And again, it's no ranged damage here, so they don't shoot. So for this example, if we had these 2 monsters on this hero, we would roll a total of 6 dice. Each one, which is 3 and above, would be a hit. So 1, 2, 3, 3 hits. Each hit would do 1 damage point. And obviously different monsters have different damage points to deal. Our hero would then have the chance to defend. As you can see, the defense is +3, so those 3 hits there, I would re-roll them, and anything which is 3 or more would be blocked. Anything less would mean that I would take the amount of damage as marked on the monster card. For the heroes, they can attack in either 2 ways. They can either do a physical hit with combat dice, bing, 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 2, so a punch, or they can use a weapon that they have, which here, this has a range of 3 and a shot of 3. So I'd roll 3 dice for this and 2 dice if I wanted a punch. And they're both the same value, so it's probably best to roll a gun. Again, roll 3 dice for this gun, and anything which is a 4 or more above, as stated by our hero card, is a hit. So in this case, 2 hits, that missed. The monster doesn't roll for defense. It has its defense printed on its card, which means that 2 would be blocked. Anything less than 2 would not do any damage. So these are hits. Now we roll to see how much those hits really hurt. So there's a 2 there. So in this case, the 2 is blocked entirely, whereas this 3, 2 is removed, which means 1 point of damage, which is enough to knock it out, and then you gain some experience points, in this case 10. Now there's a lot more to combat, like the large creatures can move through the small and medium characters, and also there are a list of powers that the monsters may have eventually, and of course there are powers that they have automatically. But the purposes of this video, I'm going to keep it short, and there you have it. That's basically the gameplay. And just very quickly, the other part of the game, if you're playing a campaign, is going back to the frontier town. There is a chart for rolling while your characters make their way back to town. So there might be an event which happens which involves maybe getting stuff or losing stuff. There is also the possibility of, if you lose your scenario, you might let the monster escape, which means that you roll a dice. It's a D3 instead of a D6, so that would be 1, and one of these buildings would be randomly destroyed. You roll a dice to see which one's destroyed. Number 4 is destroyed, which is the Frontier Outpost, so nobody can use that this voyage. And so then you decide whether you want to stay in the campsite or the hotel. Being in the hotel costs you money each day, whereas the campsite is free, but you may encounter something nasty happening in the campsite. And you can spend up to 6 days in this town. At the end of every day, you're going to roll the dice. If it's higher than the value there, nothing happens and you don't get chucked out. But then you will decide, after you've had your stay, where you want to go to spend your money. Each location has its own board with all these events which happen. So when you go, you roll 2d6 to see if there's something happening. You might get a special offer, the shop might be closed, it might be more expensive, and then you can spend your money to buy and upgrade your items, buy extra healing items, or you could just go to the saloon and gamble money to try and make a profit, basically, so you can spend later on your second day in town. And when players want to leave, they can leave, and then when the last player leaves, it's back to adventuring. So I don't know where to start. There's probably going to be a lot of negativity coming out of my mouth, but doesn't mean that this game is bad. I'm still on the fence with this game. I am playing this game quite a lot at the moment with my 7-year-old because this is a cooperative game, something that we can play together and be on the same side and play against an enemy that hopefully we can defeat, and we don't do very well. It's pretty much very, very, very impossible to beat the evil and get to your objective due to the fact of luck, a lot of the dice rolling, forgetting certain rules, forgetting to take a breath after you've defeated the enemies, to heal and then carry on playing. Those kind of things get forgotten, and the game is intensively bearing down on you. It is a nasty game with cards just coming up saying there's monsters spawning. Oh, you will have to take a horror hit because fear is encroaching on you. So yes, this game is not something that you can pop onto the table with your friends, get it out, explain it, play it, and then put it away and say, yeah, that was a good time, because this needs to be played over and over again in a campaign style. You can't just do a one-sitting play. You can't do a one-sitting play and say that game was good, that game was bad, because it's another creature entirely. I mean, a lot of these games, I love them because I can just plonk this on the table, I can put Quantium on the table, we could play a game and have a whole adventure contained in that 30 minutes, hour, 2 hours, whatever it is. Whereas with this is a role-playing experience where you have to carry on and keep going and keep developing your character, because that's the thing that draws you back. It's the character creation, the character building, buying this equipment, finding this really cool item and leveling up, and then getting that extra bit of cunning knowledge, so when you do a cunning test you've got a better chance of passing. It's all of that which makes this game hard for me to say, yes, this is an amazing game. No, this is a pile of poo. This game lives on dice. You're constantly rolling dice. You roll dice for the depth track to see if you are not going to lose the game. You then roll to move, you roll for combat, you roll for defense, you roll for the monster combat, you roll for events, you roll and you roll and you roll. Sometimes you forget that you're rolling to do what? I mean, sometimes we forget to roll for moving. When we're in combat situation, it's a case of, there are all these monsters around us, let's do the combat. And then it's like, wait a minute, I need to roll to move and see if I can get some grit, because a grit token is useful as hell. Using a grit token to re-roll any number of your dice, bonus. But they deplete very, very quickly. If you're not into rolling dice to see everything that happens to you, you know, you're on the toilet and you roll dice. Did I do one lump or two? And then you roll the dice. Do I wipe my bum or not? No, this game is not for you. This is a literal kind of roll and move game. Very much, it's Ameritrash. I'm going to say it, Ameritrash. But that's it. If you like that thing, this is great. But there's more to it than that, obviously. There's the whole role-playing aspect. There's not a lot of strategy in the combat. You know, you're going to be surrounded a lot of the times. You're not going to have time to step away. When you do, you can just lance that dynamite, which has its own effect. It has a rebound effect if you miss, which is good and kind of comical as well. There's nothing worse than an explosion going off and the monster's over here. Yeah. But yeah, the game has this element of randomization, but it's fun. It does fit into that kind of role-playing world more than a board gaming strategic world. This is not where you got to plan your line of sight. There is no line of sight. Well, there is line of sight, but you know, you can shoot through anything. There can be 10 monsters and 3 heroes between you and your target, and you can take that target down. Unlike in Zombicide, where you know, if you've got a human in that zone, they're gonna get shot first. This game is chaos, but it's chaos with this really nice coated theme, Cowboys and Cthulhu. I really adore that. That's the thing that drew me into this game. I didn't back it in the beginning because it was Kickstarter, and Kickstarter's lots of money, and I wasn't, you know, gonna fork out every month lots of money on games that I'd have to wait to play. I'm kind of happy now. I have experienced it, and it's a game, as I said, it's hitting the table a lot at the moment due to the fact that my son and I are enjoying playing this. It's cooperative. We're playing together against the system, and we are doing not too good, but we're having fun. Most important key. Now, my initial reaction when I bought originally just the City of Angels, which was not cheap. I spent 150 euros on that, and then you open the box and you've got to build the figures. Now let me get the figures, because these are the bosses. These are the big figures which come. And I'm not a miniatures person. A miniatures person would probably love this stuff. But gluing that together was a nightmare. I don't want to glue my figures together before I can play a game. Punching out stuff I can just about handle. And there's a lot of punching in this game, and I'll get to the punching again. But then I've got the boss in the Swamp of Death, and he is a nightmare, and he's wobbly still, and he's falling apart, and the arms already come off and stuff. Nightmare. I'm not putting them back in the box. The figures, I've dropped a few of them and they've pulled them apart, so I've got to stick them back together again. This is an annoyance. It shouldn't happen in a 150 euro board game, which is, yeah. And then there's the quality of the components. The punch-out tokens, they were not up to par. You're punching out these small tokens, and sometimes they would be rabbit-eared. They'd have rabbit ears, you know, it'd rip and still be attached to the spoil. And so you've got to like delicately cut them. Thin, the tiles are thin, but they look gorgeous. The tokens, there are too many. I mean, there's a simple thing, the grit tokens. There's a load of grit tokens. We don't need a lot of grit tokens. Why are the grit tokens double-sided? They could have been black on one side and grit on the other. This would make the game a lot more efficient. And this is where this is a customizable game. I am now coloring off some of the sides of the grit token. So I can take 3 grit tokens because my character can have a maximum of 3 grit. And then when I collect grit, I just flip the token over so it says grit. And then, yes, I got grit spent, and then I flip it over again. Instead of reaching across the table to put the grit token away, and then picking it back up when I get another, and then put it away. Annoying little things like this, which really kind of like put you off a game. But as I said, we are having so much fun exploring. So I've just given you a brief overview of the adventure, the exploring of the game. But there's another side. When you're playing a campaign, you go from adventure to the town. In the town, you can do things. You can spend your XP, you can spend your gold to buy extra weapons, to level up. When you level up, you're going to get another power. You're going to get, well, actually 2 powers. You will look into the quest book, and each character has a page designated to them, which gives them a bit of background and also tells them what their special abilities are. So, you know, you can kind of customize your character to, or pick the character which you feel fits your playing style. And when you level up, you roll 2 dice and you pick, well, you don't pick, the dice pick a power. You might gain some cunning and some lore, and you might also gain some extra health. And so you'll have to write that all down on your character sheet, which will be different from now the character sheet that you get at the start of the game. So you might have different statistics. And then you get to choose one of the powers which comes. And there's 4 different like routes of powers. And so you pick the first one, and then next time you level up, you either pick the second one there or you pick the first one here. And then these all just make your character a bit more distinct, a bit more unique, and give you that chance to roll better dice. Oh, yeah, one of my characters has an evil laugh as a power. When you level up, you can select a power. There is a power which is given to you by rolling 2 random dice, and you look on a chart, but there's also a power that you get to choose, and I've chosen one, and it's an evil laugh. So after I kill an animal or a creature, I can do an evil laugh, ha ha ha, roll a dice and see if I can gain a grit with a 5 or a 6. It's a silly thing like that, but it's fun, and I do it. I do the evil laugh, and I got to remember to do the evil laugh. I can imagine that later on in the game, once you've got X amount of powers, it becomes really hard to remember that you've got this power, that power, plus these items that you've found, which will give you this. I mean, I've got my cigarette case, which I keep forgetting to gain a grit every time I get a loot or a scavenge card or a treasure card. Who knows? But the thing is, you've got to remember all of that. But yeah, you go to the town, and that's another kind of part of the game, and that's quite interesting as well, because there's a lot of storytelling involved in that. You've got to decide whether you're going to stay in a camp or in a hotel. Paying in the hotel, you have to spend $10. Staying in the camp, you don't pay anything, but there might be an event. You roll on a table to see if there's something that happens. Afterwards, you decide which store you're going to go to, and there are several different stores. You can go to the general store to buy general goods. You can go to the blacksmith who can make you something, or you can buy some goods there. You can go to the church, because this is a kind of Cthulhu game. You're going to get corrupt and may grow a tentacle. So there's a corruption chart which will give you a kind of power or, you know, a disability. There's an injury chart. You might have died in the adventure, so therefore you will have to go and roll on that to see if you've got a handicap, a penalty of some sort. But then you might go to the church to be healed or blessed, or go and see the doctor to be healed or blessed. And all of this costs money. And at the beginning of the game, it's very, very hard to buy the cool stuff or anything good. You're just basically stocking up on bandages and dynamite, ready for your next adventure. So it's like this rolling ball which just gathers moss. As you get more and more powerful and more money, you start getting through these scenarios a bit easier. But again, a lot of it depends on the dice rolls that you have and the luck of the draw of the cards. And that's like the crux of this game. This board game is an adventure. It's not meant to be a board game where you plonk at the table, play it, finish, put it away, and you're happy. This is an adventure. This is something which is going to take up a large part of your life. You're going to have to invest time into this game, adapting it, creating it to make it your own. By, you know, changing some of the rules or taking some of the advanced rules and putting them in place, removing cards, adding cards, changing the balance of the game as you go. I mean, I don't play with everything, but you can't really play with everything because there's some worlds that you won't go to, and there's some things that you won't get, and some characters that won't have the special powers that you have. But it's a game that you customize. It's a game that you make your own. This is basically a kit, so to speak. Yeah, it's a kit that you make your own game out of. Back to the tokens. There are so many tokens in this game. I was so happy. I was like, cool, this is a lot of stuff. I punched these tokens out. We played the game. We got to a point where an event happened and it said all characters are poisoned. Place poison tokens on your character cards. Guess what? There's no poison tokens in this game. They're in that one. Why? So obviously, well, I didn't have that one. I had this one. I had to improvise and we used the void tokens as poison tokens. Again, I had to customize the game to make it playable for us. The game also comes with a few little plastic bags. 4, I think, to put all these tokens in. Doesn't work at all. You have to have extra bags on hand, which is what I did at the beginning. And then I made my own token trays. I'm not a professional. This is the second time I've done token trays in foam core, but at the moment they look good. I haven't used these ones yet. I made some bigger ones and they were okay, but I thought, you know what, we need to separate the tokens a bit more because I did have like dynamite, whiskey and bandages together and stuff. But yeah, there's a lot of tokens and there's a lot of put the token away, take it away, as I explained earlier, hence doing the colouring in on the grit tokens. There are a lot of cards in just one of these base games, but they doesn't feel like there's enough. That's the thing. Buying one base game, there's a lot of stuff in there, but it doesn't feel enough. It feels like it needs something else. You've got like 6 different types of monster, and after you've played X amount of times, it's like, well, it's this monster again. Obviously, if you advance in the game, these monsters become a bit harder and will have extra power, so they will feel a little bit different. But where we haven't got to that stage, and again, that's a rule that I have coloured out for the moment, because the 7-year-old will find it very hard. I think I'll introduce that a bit later. Yeah, it's where was I? Yeah, it just doesn't feel enough. Adding a second expansion or a second core has made it feel like this is how it should be. Again, the heroes, I've got 8 heroes now instead of 4. This is how it should be. When you buy a base game, these heroes, yes, there's 4 of them, but there should be 8. The character cards, yeah, they come with the male and the female, but you only get like one of those as a figurine, which you've got to stick together, annoyingly. And the other one you don't. So if you want to play the female US Marshal, you have to remember that she looks like him. Or you have to go and buy the expansion. I mean, yes, that's a minor annoyance due to the fact that this was a Kickstarter and that was included in the Kickstarter, and this is just a retail version, so I'm going to have to fork out for it. But yeah, money, components, there's lots of them. They're pretty good. They're not perfect. And as I said, it doesn't feel like there's enough there in just one core box. I should have bought really a smaller expansion and it would have probably felt perfect there, giving me a lot more gear and a lot more monsters and variety. Going back to gear, disappointed that when you do a campaign and you go to the frontier town, which is a thing that you can do. So like, yeah, you do your campaign in the mine, and then everything you treasure and experience that you bring back to the town, and you spend some time in the town. The town, you can buy things, there are events in the town. Again, the town will pound you down with bad stuff every now and again. But you can spend your money there to buy new equipment. Where is this new equipment? You know what? It's not in the game. You have to write it down on a piece of paper. This is where this turns into a role-playing game, where you will have a character sheet, wherever it is. It's over there. So yeah, you'll have your character sheet, which you can print off from their website and store all the stats and XP that you've collected. Again, I write it down on another piece of paper because I'm writing for 2 of us what our XP and gold is. And then, yeah, you store it like that, and then it's good. It's a nice, easy system, because if you're playing 2 campaigns, so if you're playing with one group of friends and another group of friends, you can still put the cards back because you've written down that your hero has the adventure boots, the judge, which is a cool gun, and X amount of dark stones. That's great. because normally with this type of game you have to like put your character sheets away with all their components and bits and pieces into one thing, and then you can't touch the game and play it with anyone else because it's there. So this is a good benefit, but it is a lot of writing down, and that's where it takes away from the board game and makes it, as I said, more of an RPG than a board game. Now, the rule books and adventure books that come with the game are thick and hefty and nice. I like them, but I don't like them. Number one, due to the fact that a rule book should be telling you the rules. The rule book here, it tells you the rules, and then it tells you the rules, and it mixes rules in with thematic story, and so you get a bit lost. Again, not everything is here, you know, a reference of all the components. It doesn't tell you everything, which is great. I noticed a mistake. It says, oh, I found it. No, I haven't found it. No, I haven't found it. Yes, I have found it. Yeah, it's got a faith token in this book, and there's no faith tokens with the City of Ancients. There's also, it says sake when there's a bottle of whiskey. This is a revised edition, which means that they've had to proofread it. But yeah, the rules could have been put together better, because it goes through a brief explanation of the rules. This is the rules, you know, you do the depth track, you move and do encounters and stuff, and then it later on it does the rules but in a bit more depth. But if it said it here at the beginning, it doesn't say it here, and so you have to then do that to understand the rules. And then if you include the extra bonus rules, which are optional, which you can throw in, that's another handful of rules that you've now got to slot into there. So luckily there are cheat sheets that you can download, and I would be remiss without it. It's just one A4, and it's perfect. Everything is there. Everything that I need to play an adventure in a dungeon and an adventure in the town is right there for me, and it's ABC. The rule book doesn't do ABC. It does A, B, F, G, then goes back and does A, C, D, C, A, C. Oh, please sort it out. But again, there's a lot of good stuff in there. There is a map, which if you're a creative person, you can tie into the game and say, okay, we're going to go to this place, and this is where we're going to do Adventure 4, where we have to escape the mine. Yeah, there's that. There's a little comic strip, which is nice to look at, but has kind of like no reference to the game. Well, it does have reference to the game, but it has, it's something in nothing, so to speak. There's a painting manual as well, so you can paint the figurines. That's fantastic. I'm not a mini painter, but that's great. It's there. There is so many nice things in the rulebook. It just wish that when they revised it, they could have put it in a better order so it flows like water when you put the game on the table, instead of having to go back and forth into the rulebook because you thought there was this rule, but you can't find it. So as you've seen, I have built my own inserts for the game so I can store this game how I want it stored, and so it makes it easy for me to get to the table, it makes it easy for me to pack away, I know where everything is, and figures don't get broken, which has happened. There are lots of nice things to like about this game. The fact that they have these small reference cards, but then they double it up onto the big reference cards as well, and then the fact that there's stuff on the big reference cards which are in the manual, in the rule book, like the traveling chart. So whenever you finish an adventure, you travel to the village, but something may happen along the way, and you're rolling dice to see what will happen, and then something may happen. But that's in the adventure book and not on the back of a chart. But then when you do something else, it's on a chart, not in the adventure book. It's like, just put it all in one place, please. Just make this easier. Do I look in a book? Do I look in the rule book? Or do I look in the quest book? Or do I look on a chart? Or do I look on one of these cards? So let's talk about something positive. This game doesn't go on too long. There are two ways that this game puts a timer cap on itself. There is the depth track, which is totally arbitrary. It's totally random. Your game could end a lot quicker if you roll poorly. You've got no way around re-rolling for the depth track if that monster escaping is going to come closer and closer and just throw shit on your plate and you have to eat it. But at the same time, you also have the encounter, the exploration tokens, which again, once you've explored a certain amount of rooms, your objective will then finally be revealed, which is good. So you've got these two ways of shrinking the game down to a nice size of about an hour, maybe 2 at the max, which is great. There's a lot of things here. There's a lot of things to discover. A lot of it is luck. But it is a handmade board game. This is a creation set. This is not a set in stone. You have to play like this. This is a game which says to you, make what you want of it. Okay, this is like the evolution of their previous game, Last Night on Earth. That's like version 1. This is like version 6.4, where they've taken that core idea, those simple little mechanics, and then they've just exploded them, added all these statistics, added all these cards, all these events. They take that from the cards. Yeah, so there's all of that here in this game, which makes this adventure so much fun, and you can make it how you want. As I said, I think I said, you have, when you buy the 2 base games, you have 2 identical loot decks. Okay, they're exactly the same 12 cards. What you could do is go, you know what, I'm just going to play with one of those decks, but I might add in a few extra of these. Oh, they should come in handy cards. So which means that you're picking up more gear to make the game a little bit easier for you. Again, that's something that I want to do while I'm playing with my son, because we've played 7 dungeons and we've only managed to survive one of them and complete the objective due to the fact that the game is just so random, and the game is just constantly monsters coming on you and attacking you, and that's it, and you're rolling dice and hopefully getting those numbers that you need to push them away. This is a high luck dice game, card drawing game, and anything can happen. If you're not into that, this game is not going to impress you. But if you are into, you know, you like exploring and just seeing what shit falls on your plate, this is great for you. If you like being pummeled to death after playing Arkham Horror, as that pummels you and ground you into the ground, this is a great game for you. For me, this is a doorway to role-playing games with my kids. This is that chance to say, okay, yeah, you've got your character, you've got this special item. Why have you got that special? What does that do? Oh, you just upgraded it. Oh, that's pretty cool. This game is just, it's a creation engine. You can create your adventure. It's not a sit down at the table, let's play quickly. This is a mini role-playing game with loose rules that you can adapt to your playing group. This game lives on dice. You're constantly rolling dice. You roll dice for the depth track to see if you are not going to lose the game. You then roll to move, you roll for combat, you roll for defense, you roll for the monster combat, you roll for events, you roll and you roll and you roll. Sometimes you forget that you're rolling to do what? I mean, sometimes we forget to roll for moving. When we're in combat situation, it's a case of, there are all these monsters around us, let's do the combat. And then it's like, wait a minute, I need to roll to move and see if I can get some grit, because a grit token is useful as hell. Using a grit token to re-roll any number of your dice, bonus, but they deplete very, very quickly. If you're not into rolling dice to see everything that happens to you, you know, you're on the toilet and you roll dice, did I do 1 lump or 2? And then you roll the dice, do I wipe my bum or not? No, this game is not for you. This is a literal kind of roll and move game. Very much, it's Ameritrash. I'm going to say it, Ameritrash. But that's it. If you like that thing, this is great. But there's more to it than that, obviously. There's the whole role-playing aspect. There's not a lot of strategy in the combat. you know, you're going to be surrounded a lot of the times. You're not going to have time to step away. When you do, you can just lance that dynamite, which has its own effect. It has a rebound effect if you miss, which is good and kind of comical as well. There's nothing worse than an explosion going off, and the monster's over here. Yeah. But yeah, the game has this element of randomization, but it's fun. It does fit into that kind of role-playing world more than a board gaming strategic world. This is not where you got to plan your line of sight. There is no line of sight. Well, there is line of sight, but you know, you can shoot through anything. There can be 10 monsters and 3 heroes between you and your target, and you can take that target down. Unlike in Zombicide, where you know, if you've got a human in that zone, they're going to get shot first. Now, there are lots of different versions of this now. Over the years, they've been doing Kickstarters and bringing out more content, more expansions, so you can go to different worlds. Yes, I didn't go into depth about this earlier, but yes, you're not just limited to the mine. Each pack has its own other side. So when you turn the tiles over, you have like this tundra for the City of the Ancients, and you have this swamp for the Swamp of Death, of course. And these will add other kind of things to the game. They will make the enemies harder, or they will make the terrain harder. You have the world card. So if you have several sets, whenever you go through a portal, you don't know what world you're going through, and then you draw a card and you see that it's, oh, I'm going to the swamp, and then the swamp has a different power. Any attacks or ambushes on a d6 of 1, 2, and 3. Heroes are +2 to rolls to catch their breath. So yeah, so there's a negative and a positive for the heroes in these, which is great. And it adds something different to the game. The game is not going to be the same all the time. You're not always in the mine, but you're always going to be starting in the mine probably. There's enough scenarios to start with and have some fun with, but they will sound pretty repetitive and the same. There's 2 which do the same thing, where you got to find dead ends, but one's like plant dynamite the dead ends, and the other one is kill all the enemies and make sure that the mine is completely empty by finding all of the dead ends. But yeah, this is a kit. You're going to be probably then creating your own scenarios later on. You go, okay, right, we need to find 3 clues to where this body is, or 4 clues to make it harder, or we're going to do this. Another nice thing that they've introduced is, because there's not a lot of minis in this game, is if you ever have to add more minis to the board and you don't have enough, guess what? The minis that you have on the board and the ones that you've just added because you haven't got enough, they gain a special ability. You'll roll a dice and you'll check it on the character sheet of the creature. And then all of a sudden, they have that power. And as you progress through the game and you level up, these monsters will start with a random power. And then if you have to roll a dice to find out another power, they become extremely hard. And again, they don't just have their basic side. They have an even tougher, nastier side. So this can change the game and how much poop you poop in your pants while you're playing, as it just hurts you and twists your arm and gives you a Rochambeau. That wasn't a Rochambeau, but anyhow. But this game is got so many layers, but it is the repetitive move, roll, dice, combat, dice, combat. There are games that are like that, which are not as fun, like Skyrim. That becomes pretty one-sided pretty quickly, but for some reason this doesn't. So there you go. There's a lot of rambling about this customizable role-playing board game that you can own, and there are lots of different versions now. You can do Vikings, you can do Oriental, ninjas and samurais. You can have the Norse gods. You can have there's the other one, the Spanish conquistadors or whatever it is, warriors. And you've got these different worlds that you can go to. So it's not, as I said, always in a mine. You can go to another planet, you can go to a space station, you can go to a battlefield. in the military 1800s or something, and it's endless. It's created its own MCU, and it can expand into God knows what. But yeah, it's a big game. It's a lot of money. Components wise, not so good. Gameplay very shallow, but it's a role-playing game which hopefully you will play scenario after scenario after scenario and develop your characters and become an interesting story to tell later on. But yeah, there you go. A board game for storytelling more than board gaming. So there you have it. Thanks for watching me ramble for hours on end there. Hope you've enjoyed this video, and it's pointed you in the direction whether this is a game for you or not. If you like this video, give it a like. If you know someone that might like this game, share this video with them. And I'll say ciao for now. Remember to play nicely with each other until next time I have time to do a video.
Just sitting at the table next to Felicia would be quite nice.